Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Now with the main headlines. As week to commemorate the resentful destruction of Al-Baqi' begins, Grand Ayatollah Shirazi retaliates demands to reconstruct the holy site. Chinese immigrants express fear over China's alleged secret overseas police stations. Saudi authorities mandate 3 types of vaccine for Hajj pilgrims. Iraq top judge says ISIS looted and smuggled country's ancient treasures. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear viewers. This is Yunus Dawood and you're watching Shia Waves live from Imam Hussein TV 3. The Shia devotees of Ahlul Bayt alayhum as-salam are commemorating Al-Baqi' week to condemn the resentful destruction of the holy graves of Jannat al-Baqi' in Medina by the Wahhabis and Salafis on the 8th of Shawwal. The believers express their great sorrow and extend their heartfelt condolences to the Prophet and his pure family alayhum as-salam on this tragedy. The Supreme Religious Authority, His Eminence Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sadiq al-Husseini Shirazi, condemned this heinous act, urging all Muslims to demand the reconstruction of this holy site. The official website of His Eminence and Shia Waves agency have published his speech as he recalled this painful event, when the enemies of Ahlul Bayt alayhum as-salam destroyed the holy graves of the infallible Imams alayhum as-salam. Grand Ayatollah Shirazi said that this resentful act of the enemies of Ahlul Bayt continues to exist as long as the pure graves of the infallible Imams are still not reconstructed, emphasizing that this state of weakness can only be cured by the uprooting its causes, which can be achieved through the reconstruction of the Baqi' holy site and the graves of the Imams alayhum as-salam. Chinese citizens who have fled repression at home fear they could now be insured by the increasingly long arm of Beijing's law enforcement with facilities identified in Europe and North America, according to new revelations. Simon Cheng, the founder of London-based Hong Kongers in Britain, spoke to media outlets, saying that people are afraid that it is becoming more impossible to escape Chinese repression even in places like London. Safeguard Defenders, an NGO headquartered in Spain, disclosed last year in 2 reports that at least 100 police stations were established overseas based on various Chinese police policies authorities since 2018. Dissidents said that the stations represent a warning that without true action by the democratic countries in which many of the alleged facilities are operating, there will be few places left in the world where they can be safe from the Chinese state. The US Justice Department announced in a press conference on April the 17th that the first arrest of 2 men on accusations of repression against immigrant community members in cooperation with the Chinese police stations. Elaborating on the issue, the US Department said that the 2 men arrested admitted to having deleted correspondence with a Chinese official when they discovered that they were under investigation. It did not confirm the location of the alleged police station, but the case is suspected to be linked to the Manhattan site, which closed towards the end of last year. Saudi news sources reported that based on the latest governmental directives, pilgrims of Hajj are required to take 3 types of vaccines, including meningitis vaccine, 2 doses of corona vaccine, and polio vaccine. However, pilgrims from the countries with 0 cases of polio based on the Human World Organization observation have been exempted from this condition. Accordingly, Iranian pilgrims do not need to take the vaccine. It should be noted that following the worldwide spread of the COVID-19 virus, Saudi Arabia temporarily barred any foreigner from entering the country. Although the ban was lifted once the pandemic subsided and non-Saudis were allowed into the country, pilgrims of Hajj still face many restrictions. It should be mentioned that Saudi Arabia has issued many health and medical directives in the post-coronavirus era, including the recent mandate for vaccination of Hajj pilgrims. Let us remind our respective viewers of today's headlines. As a week to commemorate resentful destruction of Al-Baqi' begins, Grand Ayatollah Shirazi reiterates demands to reconstruct the holy site. Chinese immigrants express fear over China's alleged secret overseas police stations. Saudi authorities mandate 3 types of vaccine for Hajj pilgrims. Also tonight, the Shia Voice Grand Finale slated for 6th of May. The head of the Nainawa Court of Appeal, Judge Ra'ed Hamid al-Muslih, revealed that ISIS organization had looted Iraq's antiques and artifacts when it took control of the province and other cities. Al-Muslih said in a press statement followed by Shia Waves agency that many antiques and artifacts in Nainawa Governorate were looted and smuggled outside the country by the terrorist organization ISIS, who deceivingly said that they were destroyed. The judge continued that the criminal organization succeeded in deceiving people that the looted antiques and artifacts contradict the group's belief, but the truth is that it's looted and smuggled them through Turkey and Syria and had them sold on the black market. Al-Muslih explained that the Daesh used the trick to cover up this crime as he sought the help of specialized experts in producing fake pieces similar to the antiques in the Nimrud Library and the Mosul Museum and demolished them before the cameras. Al-Muslih revealed that the Iraqi Judicial Council has so far recovered 3,817 artifacts, and 78 artifacts have been repatriated from Lebanon and 32 from Britain. And the record of the royal family has been repatriated from Saudi Arabia and other pieces from the Netherlands and Norway during the past years. And now we continue with some short news. Experts and Kurd groups had said that the Taliban's ban on female employees working for NGOs continues to undermine attempts and efforts to help Afghan people living in deprivative humanitarian conditions. Due to its essential services and in wake of the cold waves that hit Afghanistan, CARE, an international humanitarian organization with 900 staff members in Afghanistan, nearly 40% of whom are women, resumed suspended health and primary education programs by February, but several other programs remain suspended. The ban has threatened the incomes of women who worked for those world organizations, many of whom are the only breadwinners of their families. Experts say that the ban could also strain international donors' willingness to fund humanitarian efforts, just as the UN called for 4.6 billion in aid. According to official statements, a Rohingya woman was killed at a refugee camp in Bangladesh's southern western Cox's Bazar district, taking the killings to 24 in 2023. A police official at Cox's Bazar said that the two other women, a community leader and her daughter, were also wounded by the shooting, led by a group of 15 bandits attacked their house. More than 1.2 million Rohingya Muslims displaced from Myanmar live in 33 congestion refugee camps in Cox's Bazar, with another 30,000 relocated to Chasan Char, an island of the Bay of Bengal. A private company which had planned a rare private moon landing says it's possible its lunar lander crashed on the surface, according to an iSpace, a Japanese space startup. Its attempt to make the first private landing on the moon failed after it lost contact with the Hakuto R lander, moments before it was due to touchdown. This was the second failure for private space projects in a week after SpaceX Starship rockets exploded minutes after liftoff from its launch pad in SpaceX is owned by Elon Musk. 2 mosques in Minneapolis were almost set on fire this week. The police are investigating a possible bias motive behind these arson attempts, as a mask-wearing individual has been captured on security camera footage. Muslim leaders are worried that the unsatisfied offender will continue this attack following his 2 main failures. Meanwhile, authorities have voiced concerns, and we do not want our community to get to the point where they are not coming to the mosques, stated by Chair Minnesota Executive Director Jailani Hussein, adding that he expects the community to be more vigilant and increase security. It should be mentioned that Minneapolis is the first major US city to have allowed public broadcast of calls of adhan. The Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, the SDF, announced that had detained 4 ISIS-affiliated members in the Syrian city of Raqqa this month with the support from the US-led force. They confirmed that the operations had also carried out search campaigns for weapons, explosives and ammunition with the focus on disrupting and dismantling ISIS networks. ISIS took control of parts of Syria in 2014, but it was deflated 5 years later. Despite the group being stripped of many territorial control, it continues to threaten the security situation through different terror-related acts. The remarkable success of the second season of the Shia Voice will culminate soon in the final stage. This talent completion show, which has broadcast in English during the holy month of Ramadan 2023 on Imam Hussein TV 3, will come to an end as follows. According to the notice received by Shia Waves agency from Imam Hussein Media Group's central office in Europe, the Shia Voice final will be held on Saturday, May 6, 2023 at the Baqi Centre in the centre of London and will be broadcast live from Imam Hussein TV. 72 participants went through the primary stages of the competition, and now 10 final competitors from Germany, Canada, America and the UK have made it to the final. It should be noted that the 4 prominent personalities of the Shi'is in the West will judge the final event. Dr. Sayyid Ammar Naqshawani, one of the greatest English-speaking Shia lecturers, Nazar Qatari, a famous Arab maddah, Sayyid Maytham Abbas, a renowned American-based Urdu maddah, Sayyid Jalal Ma'sumin, international Quran reciter. To watch this competition, you can visit the official website of Shia Voice at www.theshiavoice.com. At least 57 bodies have been recovered as 2 boats sank in the Mediterranean Sea of different towns in western Libya, according to a Coast Guard officer and an aid worker. One of the survivors told officials that there are about 80 people on that of the boats, and that was heading for Europe. According to reports, the refugees were from Pakistan, Syria, Tunisia and Egypt. The International Organization for Migration said in a statement earlier this month that 441 people have died in early 2023 while trying to cross the Mediterranean from North Africa to Europe, the most deaths over a 3-month period recorded in the past 6 years. The state of violence and lawlessness in Libya, other African countries, turned the region into fertile ground for terrorists and other outlaw groups to operate, forcing thousands of people to flee their homes and houses to seek shelter in other countries. The United Nations has called on its authorities in Burkina Faso to urgently conduct a full and independent investigation into the recent killing of a number of civilians in a village near the border with Mali. The killing occurred on Thursday when an armed group in uniform surrounded Karma village, located in northern Yatanga province, and randomly opened fire on people, killing at least 150 civilians and wounding scores of others. According to reports, the attackers allegedly members of the defense and security forces accompanied by parliamentary auxiliaries known as the Volunteers for the Defense of the Homeland, then began looting homes, mosques and other properties. Burkina Faso has been experiencing a state of unrest and insecurity in recent years, with attacks reportedly carried out at the suspects by jihadists. Armed group activity and military operations have sparked widespread immigration, forcing some 2 million people into displacement. OHCR spokesman Ravina Shamsdani said that we call on all parties to the conflict in Burkina Faso to respect the obligations under international humanitarian law, including by refraining from targeting civilians and civilian objects, deliberately targeting civilians or individuals, not taking direct part in hostilities, continues and constitutes a war crime. We have reached the end of today's Shia Waves show. Let's remind our viewers of today's headlines. A week to commemorate resentful destruction of Al-Baqi' begins. Grand Ayatollah Shirazi reiterates demands to reconstruct the holy site. Chinese immigrants express fear over China's alleged secret overseas police stations. Saudi authorities mandate 3 types of vaccine for Hajj pilgrims. Iraq's top judge says ISIS looted and smuggled country's ancient treasures. The Shia Voice Grand Finale slated for the 6th of May. At least 57 bodies recovered after 2 boats capsized off Libya coast. UN calls on authorities in Burkina Faso to conduct investigation into recent brutal attack on civilians. You can view the latest news on Shia Waves website, and you can send news of your city or country to be published on our news agency. Contact us on the numbers at the bottom of the screen. This is the end of today's news. Thank you for watching, and we pray to Allah the Almighty to hasten the appearance of the Master of our time. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
ولله الأسماء